Do you ever have emotions you don't understand? I hate it. I like to feel like I'm in control. I want to be able to point at something, not enough sleep or the finances or whatever, something that I can say, okay, I'm feeling this way because of that. Then I can do something about it. Sometimes, though, I have feelings that I can't identify the source, and it feels like running from a ghost. Starting about 40, a darkness came over me that I could not put my finger on. And I tried and tried and tried. I met with people, and many of them suggested that I need antidepressants. Another said maybe you're low on testosterone. Those things both might have been true, and maybe I should have taken them, but I didn't. And look at me, I'm fine. Actually, I don't know. Maybe life would have been a lot better if I had done that, but I didn't. And frankly, at this point, I'm kind of glad I didn't. It did plunge me into a darkness, but I feel like it was a necessary darkness. By the time I was 50, I knew I had to make a change. Drops of sweat trickled down my back. I shifted my weight and looked up from my sermon notes. Normally, by this time, people were sneaking glances at their watches, coming out of a coma. Not today. Every eye was glued on me. And so, I said, trying to control the waver in my voice, 4 weeks from today will be my final day as your pastor. There was an audible gasp. After 20 years of pastoring the same church, I had become as predictable as the sanctuary furniture. They would have been less surprised if the pulpit had burst into flames. This was my flock. These were my people. I dedicated their babies to God. When they were sick, I went to the hospital to pray with them. I officiated their weddings. I stood beside the graves of their loved ones, reading scripture and speaking words of comfort. Back in seminary, I had dreamt of staying in the same church until the day I died. That kind of radical commitment sounded romantic. Now, here I was, bailing out. It would have been easier if I could have told them God was calling me to a new church or a seminary professorship. But there was nothing on the horizon. No plans, no job. I wasn't leaving them to go somewhere. I was leaving them to go nowhere. How could I explain this to my parents, who were members of my church and often told me how proud they were of me? What about my 3 children, whom I had brought up in the faith? And then there was Julie, my wife of 25 years, who had stuck with me through thick and thin. I was terminating the only way we had to pay the bills. I told people I was like Abraham. When God called Abraham, he didn't tell him where he was going either. Abraham had to take a leap of faith. That made me sound heroic. I did not feel heroic. I felt like I was being shoved off a cliff. 10 years earlier, I had begun to feel suffocated. I was tortured by nightmares of being buried alive. I woke with a jolt to a spinning room and had to sit on the side of my bed until it stopped. I fought waves of depression. I knew I needed to resign, but how could I? To do so would be to destroy the foundation I had built my life on, to turn my back on everything I had achieved. And also, being a pastor isn't a job you're supposed to quit. The whole premise is that God has called you. If you stop being a pastor, it's proof you never should have been one in the first place. I had always felt a little uneasy about my calling. You're supposed to go into the ministry like Moses, kicking and screaming and telling God he has the wrong man for the job. But I had wanted to be a pastor more than anything. Now, here I was, getting out the way you're supposed to get in, against my will. An irresistible power left me no choice. I was betting that that power was God, and that somehow it would all be okay. If I had known what that power was, and where it would lead, I would have been terrified, and I would have done it anyway. I wonder if you've ever had an experience like that, when there was some force at work in you that you couldn't put your finger on. You knew you had to do something. There was this imperative to make some kind of a change, to take some kind of a leap. And it's scary because you couldn't figure out what that was, or if it was good or bad or for you or against you. You just knew that it was forcing you and you had to. If you've had that kind of experience too, I would love to hear about it. Please share it in the comments. Also, I want to invite you to sign up for my weekly email at facingup.club. Until next week, keep facing up. There's life beyond belief.